Polish Ministry of Defense, Warsaw. 0622 local time. Intelligence update arrives. Paris negotiations failed. Russian offensive accelerates. European peacekeeping force requires deployment base. Poland is only realistic option. Geography dictates. Border with Ukraine. NATO membership. Infrastructure capacity. No alternative exists, but deployment transforms Poland. From logistics hub to potential combat zone. From support nation to frontline state. From sanctuary to target. Command at Warsaw faces historical nightmare. Foreign troops on Polish soil. Again. Global Conflict Room reconstructs the dilemma. Poland's position is clear officially. No Polish troops will deploy to Ukraine. Constitution prohibits. Public opposes. But logistics and infrastructure support guaranteed. Border is shared. Interest is direct. Involvement is inevitable. Question is, how much? Coalition of the willing emerges. France leads, UK supports, Australia, Belgium, Canada, Estonia, Lithuania, all express interest. Maybe 10,000 troops total, maybe more. Optimistic projections. Reality usually disappoints, but even small force requires massive logistics. Bases, supply lines, command centers, medical facilities, all need location. All point to Poland. What should Polish government prioritize? A. Maximum support for Ukraine. B. Minimum exposure to escalation. C. Leverage position for NATO commitments. Polish analysis is sophisticated. Small European deployments won't provide Ukraine sufficient defense, won't demonstrate to Moscow that West moved beyond symbolic responses. Therefore, military impact is limited. Political value is uncertain. Risk is substantial. This is calculation, not cowardice. Warsaw understands stakes. Russian victory in Ukraine threatens Poland directly. Shared border with aggressor. Historical grievances. Territorial ambitions. The threat is existential. Therefore, Ukrainian success is Polish security interest, but direct involvement risks escalation. Article 5 protects NATO territory, not troops deployed elsewhere. If Russians strike Polish bases supporting Ukraine operations, is that Article 5 trigger? Legal ambiguity is dangerous. Deterrence depends on clarity. Clarity is absent. Poland is non-nuclear NATO member, geographically closest to Russia, most exposed to cyber attacks. Data confirms this. Infrastructure is targeted constantly. Power grids, communications, financial systems, all under persistent attack. Attribution is difficult. Response is complicated. The vulnerability is structural. Polish military is capable but finite. Modernization is ongoing. F-35 acquisition, HIMARS deployment, Patriot batteries operational, Abrams tanks arriving. The buildup is substantial, but sized for territorial defense, not expeditionary operations, not long-term Ukraine support. Resources are limited. Commitments must be careful. East Shield construction is massive undertaking. 700 kilometers of fortifications, borders with Russia and Belarus, $2.5 billion system, trenches, anti-tank obstacles, bunkers, sensors. The construction started November 2024. Completion requires years. German engineers deploying April 2026, first time since 1945. Symbolism is profound. History is heavy. Polish population remembers 1939, 1945, Soviet occupation, German invasion. The trauma is recent. Foreign troops triggered deep anxieties. Even allies, especially Germans. The sensitivity is real, but security requires cooperation. History must yield to necessity. Difficult, but essential. Suwalki Gap is NATO's critical vulnerability. 68 miles connecting Poland to Baltics. Russia holds 12,000 troops in Kaliningrad. Iskander ballistic missiles deployed. The threat is immediate. If Russia severs Gap, Baltic states are isolated. NATO territory is cut. Alliance faces impossible choice. Escalate to nuclear? Accept fait accompli? The dilemma is NATO's worst nightmare. Poland is buffer and target simultaneously. Geography is curse. Russian forces could reach Warsaw in days, not weeks. Armor, artillery, air power. The capability exists. Intention is questioned. Capability is fact. Therefore, Polish defense planning is urgent, constant, realistic. European peacekeeping force concept is ambitious. Freeze conflict. Guarantee ceasefire. Enable reconstruction. The vision is attractive. Reality is complex. Who commands? What mandate? Which rules of engagement? How long deployed? What happens when attacked? Every question lacks clear answer. Every ambiguity invites exploitation. Russia will probe, test, pressure. The peacekeepers will face choices, respond and escalate, ignore and invite contempt. Either option is bad. This is peacekeeping reality, especially against determined adversary. If you follow Poland security analysis, type GCR. Polish logistics capacity is substantial. Railroads connect to Ukraine. Roads are adequate. Airport capable. Ports provide access. The infrastructure exists, but civilian, not military. Conversion requires investment, time, resources. All are available but limited. Supporting 10,000 peacekeepers is manageable. Supporting 50,000 is challenging. Supporting more is impossible, without massive expansion. The constraints are real. Anti-drone barrier is planned. €2 billion system. Border with Belarus and Russia. Detection, jamming, interception. Technology is cutting edge. Necessity is obvious. Russian and Belarusian drones violate airspace constantly. Sometimes crash, sometimes loiter, sometimes photograph. The surveillance is continuous. Intelligence collection is persistent. Polish response is calibrating. Shoot down and risk escalation. Track and accept violation. The choice is repeated daily. Refugee flows from Ukraine continue. Millions crossed. Most returned. Some remained. Infrastructure is strained. Social services are stressed. Public patience is tested. Adding military deployments increases pressure. Bases require land. Operations need resources. Troops create incidents. The accumulation is concerning. Polish government faces domestic politics. Right-wing opposition is nationalist. Questions Western involvement. Criticizes European integration. Appeals to sovereignty concerns. The pressure is electoral. Supporting Ukraine is popular. Hosting foreign troops is complicated. Becoming front line is frightening. The balance is delicate. Coalition holds, barely. Intelligence sharing with NATO is comprehensive. Poland provides critical information. Ukrainian border monitoring. Russian force movements. Belarusian activities. The intelligence is valuable. Influence is earned. Leverage is created. Warsaw uses this, demanding commitments, seeking guarantees, pressing for deployments. The strategy is clear. Support Ukraine. Strengthen Poland. Neither is cost-free. Cyber defense is priority investment, infrastructure hardening, network segmentation, redundancy creation. The spending is massive. Results are mixed. Attacks continue. Defenses improve. Race is permanent. NATO air policing operates from Poland. F-16s, F-35s, various nations, constant rotation. The presence is reassuring, also provocative. Russian aircraft probe borders. NATO intercepts. Close encounters occur. Accidents are possible. One mistake triggers crisis. The risk is managed daily. American troops in Poland number thousands. Rotational deployments, not permanent bases. Legal distinction matters. Political optics matter. Permanence suggests occupation. Rotation suggests partnership. Reality is semantic. Presence is continuous. Polish-Ukrainian relations are complex. Historical grievances exist. Volyn massacre, Border disputes, competing narratives, but current crisis unites. Russian threat is common. Western orientation is shared. The partnership is pragmatic, also genuine. Border security is challenging. Weapons smuggling, refugee flows, intelligence operations, all transit Polish-Ukrainian border. Control is imperfect. Corruption is concern. The porousness is exploitable. Polish special forces operate secretly, not in Ukraine officially. But training happens. Equipment transfers occur. Intelligence cooperates. The involvement is deniable. Also real. What decision would you make in that room? When geography is destiny, when history is trauma, when allies need support, when support invites danger, when frontline is inevitable, when choices are all costly. Polish command faces this daily. Support Ukraine and become target. Refuse support and face Russian victory. Enable peacekeepers and host foreign troops. Reject peacekeepers and abandon Ukrainians. Every option carries consequences. None are good. This is Polish strategic reality. Global Conflict Room examines the mechanics. How does frontline state manage exposure? How does buffer nation avoid becoming battlefield? How does alliance member balance commitments with survival? These questions are permanent for Poland, for Baltics, for Romania. Geography determines vulnerability. Alliance provides security, but also obligations. The exchange is complex. Poland's dilemma is NATO's dilemma. Support Ukraine requires bases. Bases require Poland. Poland becomes target. Target requires defense. Defense requires commitment. Commitment risks escalation. Escalation threatens alliance. The logic circles endlessly. Breaking circle requires solving Ukraine. Solving Ukraine requires Russian defeat or compromise. Defeat is difficult. Compromise is unlikely. Therefore, dilemma continues. Polish military prepares for both scenarios. Ukraine support operations. Territorial defense operations. Simultaneous preparation. Resources are strained. The burden is heavy. East Shield construction continues. German engineers arrive April. Fortifications rise. The message is clear. Poland expects conflict. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Geography guarantees this. History confirms this. Preparation is only option. European peacekeeping force discussions continue. France pushes, UK supports, Poland calculates. The decision is pending. Clock is ticking. Russian offensive accelerates. Ukrainian casualties mount. Pressure increases. Warsaw must decide soon. Host peacekeepers and accept risks. Refuse and face criticism. Compromise somehow. The choice approaches. Subscribe to Global Conflict Room. Inside the room where geography is curse, where history is warning, where support means danger, where frontline is inevitable, where peacekeepers need bases, where Poland decides future. This is Warsaw's dilemma. This is NATO's vulnerability. This is European security's critical question. The decision will determine outcomes for Ukraine, for Poland, for alliance, for continent. Inside the room where these impossible choices are made, where commanders calculate, where politicians balance, where history weighs heavily, where future is uncertain. This is Poland. This is 2026. The decision awaits. Poland's strategic position has always been curse. Geography between great powers, Russia to east, Germany to west. Historically, invasions from both, partitions, occupations, destruction. The trauma is collective. Memory is recent. World War II ended 80 years ago. Survivors still live. Children remember stories. National identity is shaped by suffering. This is why current decisions are agonizing. Supporting Ukraine is moral imperative, also strategic necessity. Russian victory threatens Poland directly. Next target, potentially. Therefore, Ukrainian success is Polish security. But how much support? What risks are acceptable? Where is line between assistance and involvement? These questions lack clear answers. Polish military modernization is impressive. F-35 fighters arriving. Fifth-generation capability. Air superiority potential. HIMARS systems deploying. Precision strike capability. Range sufficient for deep operations. Patriot batteries operational. Air defense is layered. Ballistic missile interception possible. Abrams tanks replacing Soviet legacy. Armor is modern. Capable. Numerous. The investment is massive. Largest in Europe proportionally. Defense spending exceeds 3% GDP, higher than most NATO members. The commitment is serious. Resources are strained. Economy is strong, but limited. Population is 40 million. Not enough for great power status. Enough for regional power capability. The balance is delicate. Polish-American relations are complicated. Warsaw is most pro-American capital in Europe, historically. Currently, public opinion is overwhelmingly supportive. Government is aligned. Military cooperation is deep, but Trump administration is unpredictable. Greenland crisis shows this. Alliance commitments are questioned. Reliability is uncertain. Poland needs American security guarantee. Nuclear umbrella, conventional reinforcement, intelligence sharing, all critical, all potentially negotiable from Trump perspective. This is Warsaw's nightmare. East Shield fortifications are physical manifestation of anxiety. 700 kilometers, multiple layers, anti-tank ditches, dragon's teeth, bunkers, command posts, sensor networks. The architecture is comprehensive, modeled on Ukrainian experience. Lessons learned from ongoing war. Defensive lines matter enormously. Delay advances, channel attacks. Multiply casualties. The effectiveness is proven. Ukraine demonstrates daily. Polish planners study carefully. German engineer deployment is politically sensitive. Bundesmarine troops, construction specialists, not combat forces. Mission is infrastructure, not military operations, but symbolism is enormous. German soldiers in Poland, first time peacefully, first time invited. History is transcended, maybe. Public reaction will determine. Older generation is skeptical, younger generation is pragmatic. The divide is generational, also geographical. Eastern Poland remembers Soviet occupation. Western Poland remembers German rule. Both traumas are real. Both are recent. Trust is built slowly, destroyed instantly. Suwalki Gap is NATO's Achilles heel. Military professionals know this. Politicians acknowledge privately. Public discussion is muted. Admitting vulnerability invites exploitation. But reality is clear. Russian forces in Kaliningrad. Belarusian forces to south. 68 miles between. Polish territory. Lithuanian border. The gap is narrow, defensible barely, severable easily, if Russia acts. Baltics are isolated. NATO faces impossible choice, nuclear escalation, or accept fait accompli. Neither is acceptable. Both are possible. This is deterrence failure scenario. Prevent sleep, in capitals, in command centers. Polish cyber defenses are tested constantly. Attacks are persistent. Sources are multiple. Russia primarily, Belarus, China, North Korea possibly. Criminals definitely. The threat is comprehensive. Power grids are targeted. Water systems, transportation networks, financial infrastructure, communications. Everything is vulnerable. Defense is layered, also imperfect. Attacks succeed sometimes. Usually they are repelled. The battle is continuous, exhausting, expensive, but necessary. Polish intelligence cooperation with Ukraine is extensive. Training is provided. Equipment is transferred. Information is shared. Operations are coordinated. The partnership is deep, also deniable. Officially, limited assistance. Reality, substantial involvement. The gap is deliberate. Plausible deniability is strategic asset, allows support, prevents escalation. The balance is maintained carefully. Refugee integration from Ukraine is challenging. Millions crossed border. Most returned eventually. Hundreds of thousands remained. Schools are strained. Housing is insufficient. Jobs are competed. Social services are stressed. Public patience is tested. Generally, Poles are supportive. Solidarity is genuine. But resources are finite. Capacity is limited. Addition of military bases intensifies pressure. Land is needed. Infrastructure is required. Local populations are affected. Compensation is demanded. The politics are local. The implications are national. Polish special forces train Ukrainian units. Location is undisclosed. Training is advanced. NATO standard. Western equipment. Tactics. Procedures. The program is substantial. Results are visible. Ukrainian operations improve. Effectiveness increases. Russian casualties mount. The contribution is meaningful, also provocative. If discovered, could be pretext for escalation, for expansion. The risk is managed, not eliminated. What happens if peacekeeping force deploys from Polish bases through Polish territory, using Polish logistics? Polish involvement becomes explicit. Deniability evaporates. Target status is confirmed. Russian response becomes likely. Cyber attacks increase. Border provocations multiply. Perhaps kinetic strikes against bases, against infrastructure, against logistics. The escalation is predictable. Deterrence might prevent. Article 5 might protect. But uncertainty is dangerous. Ambiguity invites miscalculation. Polish government debates internally. Foreign Ministry urges caution. Defense Ministry prepares for involvement. Prime Minister balances pressures. Coalition partners disagree. Opposition attacks from multiple directions. The politics are difficult. The decision is pending. Time is limited. Global Conflict Room examines the impossible position. Support ally. Become target. Refuse support. Face criticism. Enable peacekeepers. Accept risks. Deny bases. Abandon Ukrainians. Every option is costly. None is good. This is frontline state reality. Geography is destiny. History is warning. Future is uncertain. Decision is necessary. Inside the room, where Polish leaders struggle, where history weighs, where future is decided. This is Warsaw. This is 2026. The choice is coming.